welcome to the Foilers podcast, Adam. Great to have you on.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. Hi, guys.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your role at Stoke Foiling?
Absolutely, Pete. So my original background is from actually winter sports. So I was a professional snowboarding racer, and I got into windsurfing when I was around 7 years old because of my parents. And that progressively grew into kiteboarding, wakeboarding, then foiling behind the boat, foiling behind the kite, and then obviously, wing foiling, prone foiling, now downwinding, sap foiling, recently even para-winging. I owned water sports center back in the day in Sardinia for a period of almost 8 years. So I was immersed in the water sports really, really deeply from a very, very long time. I came on board with Stoke about 2 years ago. I was hunted by Hamish through a couple of mutual friends. And now we are working together and building Stoke.
Hamish was on the Foiling podcast when it first started. In fact, he was my very first episode. So, so welcome back to you guys.
We are stoked to be back.
Yeah. Look, you guys brought out a new version of your product. It's called the Stoke Foil Boost Ultra. So can you give us an overview of what is the Stoke Foil Boost Ultra and what inspired its development?
The Stoke Foil Boost Ultra, like you said, it's a brand new product in our lineup. It was brought to market because market wanted it. So this is designed mainly for hybrid foiling. When we released our first Stoke Foil Boost purely as an assist product, we realized after probably about a half a year, maybe 8 months into the whole Stoke Foil Boost thing, that people actually want to connect waves while being powered. Whereas our original model worked really well for assisting people in getting into like additional power source, like, marginal wind conditions for wing foiling, bumps downwinding, waves, awesome for that, but slightly underpowered to be able to, motor out to the lineup and catch that wave again. That was solely the reason of releasing the Ultra as a higher powered unit for that particular application.
So what were the kind of the core design improvements or innovations that you focused on? More power, essentially, a longer lasting, or?
Yes, there were few actually. First of all, the biggest and the most important thing for us was to have more thrust, so increase the power of the whole unit. So we have a brand new custom built motor. We have brand new battery, high-powered battery. It's built on a higher voltage architecture as well. And another huge improvement that we introduced to the Ultra is new remote. Our original remote did really well for wing foiling, stand-up paddling, but was slightly too big for prone foiling. And majority of people that want to do hybrid foiling, they're on small, short boards. It's like prone foiling. So we had to redesign the remote for that particular application. We still have mounts where you can mount it to, winging handles or paddles, but the remote is half the size. It's really ergonomic, has a redesigned trigger mechanism, really bright LCD screen. I mean, it's next level.
Look, it's interesting you talk about the remote because that is, from what I've heard, has been an issue with some of the other products on the market. I've heard of remotes getting stuck on. I've heard of remotes breaking. The stuck on's a bit of a concern because the thing just takes off, and the props can be pretty dangerous if you get in the way of them. So it's interesting that you focused on the controller because I think that that has been an issue a bit in the industry up until now.
Yeah, that's correct. Because majority of we actually thought about this quite a lot as well. So majority of the remotes out on the market, they are done by a third party, like a skateboarding remote that's pretty much waterproof. From the get-go, we were designing ours, but majority of the trigger mechanism, because you mentioned, remotes getting stuck and the prop being on, have kind of a stretch spring mechanism. So when you pull on the trigger, the spring stretches and then it compresses. So what happens, after you use it 100, 1,000, 2,000 times, it's a lot of wear on the springs, so the springs tend to break. And we redesigned that as well. So our new remote actually works on the compression kind of mechanism. It compresses the spring when you pull on the trigger, and then it comes back to its natural state. So you have kind of less strain on that spring. But that's just one little bit that we've improved. We've done so much with this remote. It's incredible.
Yeah. And that's fantastic because, yeah, I think, it's an important part of it and the sensitivity and all those sorts of things. What were
Yes.
some of the biggest sort of engineering challenges for you to go to this new model, new remote, new engine, battery, etc.?
That's right. So there were few engineering challenges. Like I have not designed the product, so this question is more to Hamish. I actually asked him to write me a couple cheat notes, and so I'll read off of them. I know what they are, but Hamish put it in a really nice way. And so the biggest challenge was actually designing that remote that we already spoke about, and to actually make it super ergonomic and that it can be used for all foiling disciplines, not only for prone foiling, but that it does a really, really good job for prone foiling. So that took almost 2 years of designing that very brand new remote. And additional thing was sourcing all the parts and the motor to achieve that thrust and to still keep that original kind of mindset in mind where the unit is completely maintenance free. So I know Hamish sourced parts from Japan, from other parts of the world to actually make that happen. We're lucky enough that the battery technology changes very, very quickly. So we are able to source the best battery cells that are on the market, really high density ones that we can pack into that small area of our battery.
Yeah. And what makes the Ultra different from other foiling devices? What do you see as its I suppose competitive differentials out there?
There are a few. The biggest one I would say is the ease of use and ease of mounting it. So if you look, at other competitive products, they're all good, but it takes time to mount them on your existing setup. Our goal was to be able to set everything up within 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know, Pete, about you, but when I go foiling, even 4 screws for a mast is too much for me. It drives me crazy. And if I need to spend another 20 minutes setting up a motor, that's another really big challenge. So we wanted to keep everything super simple, where it takes very little time to mount it. If you want to change the height of the motor on your mast, you can do it right on a beach. You don't have to go back to your garage. If it's too high, too low, you can do it in couple of seconds. And then when conditions change, another big benefit of that is that you can take it off really, really quickly, right? So I don't know, let's say you're wing foiling at 10 knots, you need the motor to help you up. All of a sudden conditions change, you got 15, 20 knots. Obviously you don't want that additional 4 or 5 kilos on your mast. It's unnecessary to have it. 2 bolts out to your car and you keep on riding your original setup. So that'd be one of them. Another is just one package right out of the box. So you don't need to purchase any additional items. Our new receiver, actually, that we didn't talk about previously, also can be used on top and below the board. So there's no need of picking. Everything is pretty much ready to go straight from the case.
Okay. Because I think with the existing systems out there, a lot of people have to kind of almost, buy a second mast and have that set up all the time. So they've got that system ready to go, but they've got to buy that extra bit of gear. So yours, from what I understand, just goes on your existing gear. You put it on the mast. You can choose your height. You can move that around
That's correct.
and take it off.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. All the systems that are out there, you can put them on your existing setups. But the benefit of Stoke is that the ease of mounting it is unparalleled with anything else that's out there. It's just literally 2 bolts. That's it. And then, I can see this here where I live on Sunshine Coast. Majority of people that ride competitive products, like you said, they do have a dedicated setup for that. They keep it assembled in their van, in their ute. Whereas with ours, you can keep it in the trunk of your car and set it up right on the beach.
Yeah. So some advantages and just that, as you say, the ease of use. Can
Yep.
you talk us through the applications you see for it? How does the Ultra help riders, and kind of what are the best disciplines do you think and situations for it?
Yeah, Pete. We already kind of touched on it before already. So we designed this for hybrid foiling. So when you think about this, majority of people, as we spoke before as well, gonna use it on prone foil setups. So this was built for prone foiling in mind, for that hybrid foiling application, and that's where it really shines. It shines on small setups with the changes to the remote, with that additional power. You can use really low volume bores. There's plenty of thrust to get you up and going. But it can still be used like the original Stoke Foil Boost. So it can be still used, for wing foiling. It can be used for stand-up paddling. It can be used for downwinding. Any foiling application, board sport foiling application, you can use the Ultra as well.
And is there a sort of a skill level? Is this made kind of for beginners or intermediate or advanced? Where does it fit in the mix there?
Yeah, Pete, this is a fantastic question because it can be used for both. So we see that it helps people get into the sport because, as we know, foiling is quite hard. And when you introduce additional things to the equation besides just foiling, like a wave or wind or wing or anything like that, it becomes really, really challenging. So Ultra really does a good job for just pure e-foiling. So you live on a lake, you don't have waves, you don't have wind. Well, you can e-foil that if you want, and you can learn how the foil behaves. Because everything is, in the trigger. It's kind of like riding a dirt bike where you just squeeze the trigger and off you go. But you're more experienced rider. Your conditions are not good enough for the discipline of your choice. That will help you get out there. So it helps on extending that foiling time. But there's a lot of people riders, they just fall in love with hybrid foiling. They don't want to do anything else because they just like the ease. Someone has, I don't know, half an hour, 45-minute break. If they want to lunch break during work, they want to paddle out. Well, they're going to catch two waves. You go with the Ultra, in that 45 minutes, you can catch, 10, 20 waves. So I would say it's for both. It depends where you are. It can help you with whatever kind of goal you got.
Yeah, and look, I suppose there's some people that particularly maybe older people or people with shoulder problems. They don't want to be paddling all day trying to catch their waves. They can just pull the trigger. They can get up and get going. I suppose that's a real advantage for lots of people.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. People with minor injuries, like you said, or someone that it is a little bit older and they don't have the dynamics of being able to pop up on the board so quickly, and they can use that as a tool to help them stay out there and enjoy foiling, which is one of the best sports in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's fantastic. One of the questions I think that everyone would ask, and it's on their mind with really any foil assist product, is when we're out there, we're kind of wanting to, once we're up, if it's prone foiling or downwinding, we're wanting to pump along, and the foil assist, no matter what system it is out there at the moment, adds weight to the system. How does your system behave? What does it feel like in terms of actually pumping along on a foil?
So it works really well, but like you said, you have to keep in mind that you're adding weight to the board. So obviously the dynamics of pumping, the dynamics of your ride, they will change because you're adding, slightly over 5 kilos onto your existing setup. With the Stoke though, with both models, the cool thing about this is if you are in that level where you can pump and you want to pump, you can move that entire unit really close to your board really quickly. And like we said before, you don't have to purchase anything else. You can move it up or down without any additional sort of parts to it. So if you are a good pumper and you want to connect waves by pumping, not by using the motor, you can do so by moving the unit, up closer to your board where you have more clearance. In terms of the swing weight, our unit is quite long, so we get a lot of questions, how that behaves on the mast. You actually don't really feel a difference when you compare it to other competitive products out there because the battery pretty much weighs almost the same as the motor. So that counterbalances itself. So it feels like it's not there. Yeah, of course, your board is heavier, so it is there. But in terms of the swing weight, you don't really feel it.
Yeah. And how did you find that balance? Because obviously, a bigger battery, more powerful motor, things get bigger. And obviously you can make it bigger and bigger, but you've got to find that happy medium. And how did you kind of go about that process?
So we're aiming for that, about that 5 kilo mark, looking at other things on the market and looking at our boost and knowing already, how the boost behaves with our, let's say the XR battery. We kind of felt that this is like almost the top limit where we want to go. And that gives you a little bit of sacrifice in terms of the battery capacity, but that's the trade-off. If you want to keep the weight down, but you want to keep the power up, you're going to have to cut from somewhere. So especially with the way where we are placing our battery, we're placing it at the front of the unit. So we wanted to go, as light as possible, but also not sacrificing the thrust and having that, minimum like 25 to 30 minutes of constant e-foil use within the unit. Because when you're going to use this, let's say for a hybrid foiling application, that 25 minutes to half an hour full thrust will give you, it should give you about an hour to hour and a half session because you're not going to be using that motor all the time. So all those factors kind of played a role there.
And what about, I was listening to a YouTube video this morning and someone obviously right into Foil Assist's got 7 batteries,
Yeah.
and they'll go through all these batteries, and I haven't heard of 7 before, but obviously very keen on getting out there. Can you buy extra batteries so you can plug in, or is that not available?
It's not available at this stage. However, we are releasing the extra, we call them HT batteries for that particular unit for the Stoke Foil Boost Ultra. And yes, that was the goal from the very beginning, that, spare batteries are going to be available, because like you said, people do want them, because for a lot of people that, that half an hour full e-foil is not enough. They want more. And obviously for beginners, because when you are starting out, you will use that battery a lot more. And when your skill level grows, you learn how to conserve that power, and you learn how to ride it for longer and longer and longer. Also for commercial applications like schools, for instance, you do need that, additional battery. So they will be available for sale very, very shortly.
And how long does it take to charge the current battery if you want to go and then go out again?
Yep, that's correct. It is long and not long. So it takes about 2 hours to charge the battery. With our previous unit, we did release our, like a fast charger that cuts the time in half. And we are going to probably do the same thing for the Ultra. But coming back to your questions, 2 hours on average to fully charge the battery.
It's quite a large battery, I suppose, and that's part of it. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
If you've got your existing system, how modular is it? Can you buy the new Ultra and use your original remote control, or can you buy the new remote control separate?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, Pete, that's a fantastic question. So in terms of receivers and remotes, they're completely interchangeable between 2 product lines. So they are interchangeable between the Boost and the Ultra. Remote and receiver. So let's say you have your existing Stoke Foil Boost, you would like to upgrade to a Series 2 because you like the design or you want the modularity of the receiver. You can absolutely do that, and you can buy it as an accessory on our website, no problem. In terms of batteries, unfortunately, Ultra was built on a completely different voltage architecture, on higher voltage architecture. So batteries are not interchangeable. Even though they look very, very similar, we haven't really changed much in terms, how the battery mounts to the system. The blade connectors are the same. The blade guards are the same. The Ultra battery almost looks the same as our extra battery. We're actually using the same nose cones. They have slightly different graphics, but the guts, the inside of the battery are very, very different. So you can't use the Ultra battery on your Stoke Foil Boost, on the regular Stoke Foil Boost, and the same the other way around.
Yeah. So some people may choose to buy the Ultra and then the original Stoke Foil Boost. So when the Ultra runs out, or they've got a different sort of session where they don't need that power and that size of battery. But depending on the circumstance, I imagine potentially I could swap it out and have one remote potentially between the two. Could that work?
Yes, actually, that's exactly how I used it personally, or for demos. I have, one Series 2 remote, and I have Series 2 receiver, both on Ultra and the Stoke Foil Boost. That way, all I need to do is just pair the remote between one unit to the other. I don't have to take the entire, setup. Plus, that Series 2 remote is just so much better. So I just like to use that one. We still feel that the Stoke Foil Boost, like you just said, it has its place for a different application, for a different kind of sort of use case scenario. We already spoke about the weight. If you are a downwind foiler and, weight is critical for your performance, and you actually don't need that much power. You don't need the power of Ultra to do that. The regular Stoke Foil Boost is the way to go. It's lighter, it has a smaller battery, and it's built for that. Where the Ultra, it's built for hybrid foiling.
Yeah. There's certainly, look, these Foil Assist products are certainly taking off. We're in Perth, Western Australia, where I am. We've got all these boats going, big launches and ferries going out to an island called Rottnest Island. It's not unusual now to see up to 4 people on Foil Assist products sitting on the back of a ferry. Yeah, it's like we're running out of room on that one. You're going to have to get on the next one kind of thing. It's really, really taking off, particularly in winter, where in Western Australia here, we don't have as much wind. Summer, not a question. We're the windiest state in Australia in terms of wind in summer, but in winter, it dies right down. So everyone's getting them out and getting out there.
That's exactly right. And I remember about a year ago, I had an email inquiry from US, and the guy was asking, can the Stoke Foil Boost be used for tanker foiling? And I'm like, I do every single foiling kind of discipline there is. I'm like, what is tanker foiling? Like, I've never heard of that. and he apparently lives in Texas, somewhere close to Corpus Christi, where it's a Gulf of Mexico, so they don't really get waves, they get bumps. They just cruise behind big tankers. So that's exactly what they're doing. It's exactly what you said is happening in Perth. They just basically chase the tankers and chase the wakes of the tanker. Really cool. Seems really dangerous, but it seems like fun.
Yeah, and I think they can go a long way as long as they pretty well want riding those tankers. I mean, most people in Perth here, they're riding for 2-3 Ks, but I think those tankers can go as long as you like, as far as you want to go away from your original destination. You got to get home, obviously. That's the thought.
And that was the question that guy was asking, actually. Let's say I'm really far offshore. Can I e-foil it back? Because majority of the time, I'll be on foil. I'm not going to be using a lot of battery. I'm going to use it just to get on that wake, but I might be a couple nautical miles offshore. Can I e-foil it back? Does it have enough power to actually get me on a small board, get me up, and e-foil me back to shore? So this is really interesting. I've never tried that one. I did a little bit of wake thieving on lakes with just pump foil setups, but I've never done it behind a tanker. I should go to Brisbane to the harbour and try it out.
Yeah, I've never tried it. I've spoken about my kind of journey pump foiling, and that's been pretty difficult. And I must admit, the foil assist products are incredibly tempting when you try the journey of throwing these little boards and jumping on them.
That's
it does look like fun.
Yes, it does.
Has there been? I remember when I spoke to Hamish, he talked about some of these foiling yachts using your assist product. What's been happening with that? How's that evolved?
This evolves quite a bit. It's a really interesting thing, because I think we are the world's first that actually power up foil boats. They're not big boats, so we're not talking about the super yachts on foils and putting a stoke on it and getting them on foil. Obviously, that's not going to work. But we're talking about foiling dinghies. So we are in the partnership with Wasp and Skida, and that's actually with the original Stoke Foil boost. It's not with the Ultra. The original Stoke Foil boost has plenty of power. Those boats are really efficient. They got bigger kind of square meterage of the sail, so they create that apparent wind really, really quickly. So that little boost are those really marginal conditions when they can't get up on foil. Now they can. So they can practice, they can race in conditions that, you wouldn't be able to do that before. So this is growing. We got more interest from other foiling brands. Foil dinghies brands in the world that would like to use that as well. We just opened up a conversation with Switch Boats. So this is growing, and this is really interesting. I've never thought that, a foil assist will kind of find its place in yachting almost, right?
Yeah. That whole foiling and yachting and boats is getting pretty interesting as well, because it's just such an efficient way for them to get up and going. I think, from what I understand, that's where kind of foiling started. It started in the yachting kind of area, and then moved into recreational kind of surfing and wing foiling and so forth. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And what we found really interesting, that a lot of people that are into foiling dinghies, they actually are wing foilers as well. So that kind of is a really cool complementary product for them, because they can put it on their foiling dinghy if they want to, or if they want to go, wing foiling, they can put it on their wing foil setup. So it's really exciting to see that.
That actually prompted another question in terms of, putting it on different things. It made me think about travel. What's the system like in terms of travel? People are wanting to go to different places around the world with their foil assist products?
Yes, a fantastic question, and we don't have the solution out yet for the Ultra. Unfortunately, with the Ultra and the air travel regulations, you're not able to travel with the Ultra. The battery is simply too big. We know that competitive products they have split batteries, and that works really well for them. With our current design, the split battery it's not possible to. Everything is possible, but with the current battery placement, it's really challenging to do something like that. And for the Ultra, because of the power, we can't really sacrifice the battery capacity, because it diminishes the sense of having that unit. If you can only e-foil that for 5 minutes, well, that doesn't really do what it's supposed to be doing. We are working on alternative solutions, which I'm not going to share with you guys just yet, but we are working on a travel solution for the Ultra as well. So this is coming. How quickly? Not sure, but it's coming. If you want to travel, I would recommend getting into the Stoke Foil Boost rather than the Ultra, because we have the travel battery for that particular unit. But with that said, if you are a prone foiler, that's not a solution for you. Not enough power if you want to do hybrid foiling, and that travel battery, if you're on a small board for the original Stoke Foil Boost, it's not going to give you much. So more for stand-up paddlers, downwinding, and wing foil.
So the big change in application, as we kind of, I suppose we've covered a bit, is this is a prone foiling system, when the other one wasn't really powerful in that way to do that. It was an assist system, but this can be used prone foiling with a smaller board, etc.
That's exactly right. But you can think of it, both units kind of do the same thing, but they're targeted or they're tailored for a different application. So you can prone foil on a Stoke Foil Boost, the normal one, the regular one. It just has less power, so you have to have more technique. Hybrid foiling is not going to be possible, but it will help you, getting into the waves, like really fat waves, really small waves. It will help you get on them. If you are really good, you might be able to do a little bit of hybrid foiling with that. Whereas Ultra, you'll be able to do it for a really long time. But if you want to use it as an assist product, kind of like the Stoke Foil Boost for like your wing foiling, for stand-up paddling, for that, you can. It does a really good job, but it is a slightly overkill. It's overkill in terms of power and in terms of thrust, and even in terms of weight. So they both kind of do the same thing, but slightly different.
Yeah. And what about? I mean, one of the things people seem to be kind of worried about, but I don't know how front of mind it is, but safety's something that I suppose comes to mind for me. And I have seen some incidences where people have slipped off the back of boards, their knees have gone into the prop and things like that. What are your sort of safety mechanisms? What are your thoughts on the safety of the product itself?
Yeah, so let's start off maybe like this. Stoke Foil Boost and Stoke Foil Boost Ultra, they're not safety devices. Foiling is dangerous. When you're going out there, you're assuming that risk. We all accept that. It's part of the game. That's why it makes it so exciting. But with that said, we've done everything we possibly can to make it, as safe as possible. So we have safety mechanisms built into both units. They're fairly similar. So first of all, with the remotes, both Series 1 and Series 2, you have the throttle locking mechanisms. When you engage the trigger once, you won't make the prop spin right away. Remote will give you a vibration. It got haptics built into them. And that means, the connection is established, unit is ready to go. Be careful. Second time you pull the trigger, the prop actually engages. Now, when you release the trigger, both remotes, prop stops immediately. There's pretty much no lag there. When you fall off, and that's actually the technology here actually works in our advantage. When you fall off and your trigger is still engaged, water does not conduct Bluetooth. So when you lose the connection, that prop will stop right away. Those are the safety mechanisms, but still, again, it's not exactly safe.
Sure. You have to be careful, like riding a motorbike. These things are fun, but you still have to be careful. They've got an element of danger. And as you said, I mean, it's the thrill of the challenge and a bit of danger that makes it exciting in many ways.
That's exactly right. One more thing, and that actually pertains to all foil assist units, no matter if it's a Stoke or a competitive product. The way where we actually place the motor majority of the time actually provides a little bit of safety, because the motor is not, the props are not all the way down by the foil. So, and you are most likely to hit the foil if something goes wrong. That motor is actually closer to the board. And as long as you're riding it, this is really counterintuitive. It's the same with dirt bikes. As long as you're riding fast, you're usually safer. Because when when you're falling fast, when you're falling off the board quite far. So majority of those incidents actually happen in really, slow speeds, or carrying your equipment to the water, off the water, that sort of.
Yeah. I heard of one where someone was removing a system and it got caught on the mast. They were just at home in their garage and it finally came off, slipped off, and he stabbed himself in the leg. Straight to hospital, multiple stitches. And that was just at home, taking the thing off the mast.
That's exactly right. And, we touched briefly on that safety mechanism of the trigger, and we have an option of actually shutting it off, because with hybrid foiling, you kind of want to have access to that thrust right away. Riding a wave, all of a sudden you're off the wave, you're dipping the motor pod into the water. You want to be able to go straight away. So you can actually shut that off in the remote settings, in the controller settings. And a lot of people do that. I have it shut off. If you are a beginner or intermediate foiler, not there just yet, and you're really concerned about the safety, you can turn it back on. It's turned on from the factory.
Sure. So the option's there, and people can make their informed choice, really.
That's exactly right.
Where do you see the foil assist products heading in the next few years? What are the areas of evolution, without giving too much away? Where do you see this becoming increasingly popular? Different uses? What's your kind of thinking on this?
I kind of see all of that. So I see increased uses. So we spoke about, foiling boats, 1 year ago, this was something completely, no one was doing it. And hybrid foiling, like we spoke about, it took off completely. I can see it here locally. You see it all over the world, more and more people doing that. Before, no one was really doing that. You either had an e-foil, you had an assist product, and you used one or the other. Now it kind of all blends together where it's almost e-foiling, but it's not e-foiling. So you have the motor, but then it's all about riding not on the motor. So it's all kind of, fusing together, which is really, really cool. And obviously where it's heading. Now it's heading for more power. People always want more power. It's heading for, extended ride times. So, the battery technology is changing rapidly. So we get, bigger and bigger batteries, not necessarily bigger in terms of size, but the capacity of the battery that you can pack in a really small package. Everything is becoming lighter. Other companies and, other innovators are thinking about different ways of mounting the batteries in different places. We can see, evolution of waste batteries to take the weight off the board. And there's so many different directions where it's all going. And I think at the end, the market will dictate where it's going. What people want to see, what people want to ride. But it's funny, it's like with cars, it's like with bikes. And I can see it really clearly, talking to people pretty much every day about this. Everyone wants longest lasting and the most powerful, even though majority of riders don't really need that, but it doesn't matter, they want it.
Yeah. I suppose it comes down to a skill thing. If you're a beginner, then you probably need all the power in the world to get used to foiling. But as you get better, you once you're up, you're pumping away and catching waves or swell or whatever, and you don't need it as much. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And once you get better, then it becomes a trade-off between power and weight. So and duration and weight. So you're getting better. You're like, oh wow, now I can really start to feel that additional weight. So maybe I should go for something lighter. But when it's lighter, then it means it's going to be either less powerful, it's going to last a little bit less, and then you start to play with that kind of equation.
Yeah. Another question, and it's sort of a strategy question in a way, is a lot of companies have kind of team riders and influencers and things like that, and that's sort of part of, I think, bringing some of these products to the market. What are your approaches to that, and what's your thinking about that?
Yeah, so we are developing this still. Do aim for team riders, because brand ambassadors is basically that's what grows the market. Because if someone wants to talk to me, obviously I am associated with the brand, so I'm not going to be as trustworthy, right? So having people that are actively promoting our product by just using it and having fun with it, that's the best way to go. Using the Stoke, it's a lot of fun, and we want a lot of people to use it and to promote this. And we have an agreement in place. If you want to become a team rider, if you're listening to this, please reach out to me. And we do have an agreement in place, and we can definitely help you out.
Fantastic. Yeah. And where can people have a look at or purchase the Stoke Foil Boost Ultra? Where is it available around the world?
Yeah. So we still have slightly above 70 resellers across the globe. They all can be found on our website. We have like a little Find Us tab. You can click that, and there's a cool looking map of the world where you can click on it, and it's going to show you, where our resellers are. And we have schools that are, actively using the product to teach people, usually wing foiling at this stage. And so if you want to try it, first of all, you can get in touch with me if you want to, or go on our website, check out your closest reseller, email them, give them a call. A lot of them have demo units, and you can go and test it out. So Queensland, you can reach out to me directly. I'm happy to provide a demo for you.
That's good for the local market. Yeah. Any
it.
questions or anything we haven't covered that you'd like to cover?
It seems that we covered majority of it, but on the questions that you've sent to me previously before we sat down, you also were talking about you see us entering like the proper e-foil market.
Yeah.
And I still feel, even though we touched upon that, it's all kind of merging together. I still think they're two different kind of sports. So you got e-foiling, very different target market, very different people kind of want that. And you got the foil assist product, in parentheses, because they become less and less of an assist product. They become the discipline of their own. And as of today, we think that, we really want to be, the number one in that foil assist market, in that market where it's not necessarily an e-foil. It's more geared towards people that are already doing something with other disciplines. And we want to kind of be a gateway to people to start doing the other foiling disciplines, because there's so much foiling. Like there's so many different disciplines. They're all awesome. And we want people to foil more. That's basically what we want to do. We want people to foil more.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Hamish talking about that. That's what sort of drove it. He's an engineer, and he's when you can't find a solution, you make the solution. I think that's what drove his innovation in the first place.
That's exactly right. And it seems like, everything is going that direction anyway. So we are on that kind of electric side of it. But if you look at, foiling brands, mid-length boards, more efficient foils, more efficient wings for wing foiling, it's all going into this direction where, no matter what conditions you got, you'll find something that you can do on the water. And the perfect example is me, actually. I used to love wakeboarding. I live 15 minutes away from a wake park. I used to buy a season pass every year even up to 2 years ago. Don't do it anymore because I don't have time for it, because I can always go foiling. I can always go foiling every day.
Yeah, we had we wakeboard with different ones over the years, but 14 years.
Yep.
So I went from windsurfing to wakeboarding. Essentially, stopped windsurfing. We got into wakeboarding and we did it for 14 years, and that boat's long gone, and I haven't been back to it since.
Right. Even though, the feeling of wakeboarding is slightly different. It has its place. Still like, the typical board sports, which I don't even know if you can call foiling a board sport because you're not technically on the board, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much going on. There's so many changes going on, and there's so much more to learn that, like, you just don't have time.
Yeah, a lot of people foiling the most often, I think, are the fortunate retirees. They're out, and now they can be out in all conditions with these foil assists.
Yep.
No wind in the morning, let's say, you're out in the foil assist. In the afternoon, you're out wing foiling or downwinding or whatever.
Even tides, right? You're not tide dependent anymore. So you got places where you can only foil in certain tides, right?
Yeah.
High, low depend on the location. But all of a sudden here it's like, well, the tide is too high, the waves are too fat. Well, chuck in a foil assist product on your mast, and off you go, and you can catch them. And you don't need a friend with a jet ski. You don't need a boat. You don't need anything.
Yeah. It's good for us, maybe not so good for our families at times. They probably think, where is he? Where is she? Out in the water, having a good time.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I want to ask you a few quick fire questions.
Yep.
So here we go. Describe foiling in one word.
Freedom.
Freedom. What's the most rewarding thing about foiling for you?
Constant progression. Constant progression. No matter how good you think you are, there's always more to learn.
And what's your favorite place to foil?
I read that question before, and I don't have an answer to that because it's so dependable on the discipline, on the way you feel that day, on waves, on so many different. Well, it depends what you want to do.
Yeah. And what's the best advice you've ever received about foiling?
That's also a really good question. I started foiling really, really long time ago. So I would say the best advice would be that you need to really feel the foil. So feel the foil. Don't think in conservative ways of you feeling the board. Feel the foil, because this is what you're riding.
Yeah. Okay, good one. What's been your worst crash moment that you can recall?
Well, I think wing foiling has usually the biggest crashes I've ever had, because you tend to ride big waves if possible. And as we know, you can't duck dive the entire wing foil setup. So I don't have one particular crash. I never actually got seriously injured foiling. Minor injuries, nothing that kept me off the water. But, coping like a 8-foot swell on your head while being connected to your wing and to your wing foil board. And those are not fun.
No. It's, yeah. Last one. What's the next big foiling adventure or challenge for you on the horizon?
There are two. So first of all, I already started that power winging. I want to be able to ride foils on everything, so I just started power winging. Still long journey ahead, but I would like to participate in the M2O, but on a SAP. So that's not going to happen this year. I'm not good enough yet. I'm getting there slowly, so hopefully next year I'll go and join the M2O.
I understand para winging's, it's the first year, I think, para winging's in the M2O, and partly driven by Cynthia Sinbad Brown, who I spoke to recently, who is going to go in the competition this year, from what I understand. I think she's out in the water all day, every day, to be honest. And so that'll be an interesting one. I think there'll be a lot of para wingers going into that as the years go by. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm going to do it on a power wing or just normal stand-up paddling. Depending on how good I'm going to get on the power wing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Really interesting thing, because we're talking about power wings. A lot of guys that are into this Stoke Foil Boost, our original model, they're actually putting them and power wing at the same time. So
Right.
that's a really interesting thing. I haven't thought that's going to be possible, but apparently it works really well.
Because I think one of the challenges for many for the Parawing is you don't get that pump to get up on the foil like you do with wing foiling. I think when people are bringing out new Parawings, some of the focus that people talk about is this has got the grunt to get you up out of the water. But so I can see why that might be the case, because once you're up, you're on the Parawing, you can have the system quite high on the mast. You're not feeling it so much.
Exactly. That's what I think it is. And also the feedback from people that use the marginal wind conditions. They'll use Stoke to go upwind a little bit, or to help them create that apparent wind to keep the power wing flying, and then use the power wing to go upwind and then downwind. And yeah, it's really interesting. I haven't tried it myself yet, so that's the next thing I'm going to try to do as well.
Yeah, cool. I wonder, just thinking aloud, one of the challenges we have with dock starting and foiling is some of these boards are like, I don't know, 10 liters or less. And so if you fall off in a channel, you often have to swim next to your board. It's not big enough to actually be able to lie on and swim easily. I wonder if the Stoke Foil Boost could be attached somehow to the bottom of it. I don't know, and then you can initiate it just to get out of the way in a hurry.
Yeah, for pump foiling, actually, quite a lot of people that are getting the Stoke Foil Boost Ultra for pump foiling, for a variety of reasons. One will be that. The second, it's like if you don't have a dock, you can't really do it from shore. You can do it now from the middle of the lake. So you basically zip out to the middle of the lake where it's deep enough, and then use that to just get up and then pump. And the Ultra is powerful enough, if your technique is good enough, that you are able to, if you can establish the connection, because we talked about the fact that the Bluetooth doesn't really work through the water, but if you're able to get that 10-liter board slightly off the surface so you can catch the connection, you can use it for pump foiling as well.
Yeah, I love this overlap. I even saw the other day someone throw their dock foil board, they got going pumping, and then they threw out their power wing on this tiny board, 10 liters, and they were going along on a power wing on a little Dockstar board. So this whole combination of stuff is getting...
People are getting so creative. We're talking about pump foiling. I saw a couple of reels where they are using that really small 10-liter board or 15-liter board, and then grabbing a wing from their friend on the boat, and then winging a little bit. Like foiling is just such an outlet for creativity. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's and everyone's, I think we're all stoked about where it's going. It's an exciting time. I think we're pretty fortunate to be able to be at this time where this sport is taking off.
It's like we're at the forefront of the entire, like it's a water sports revolution, really, if you think about this. It just opens up so much more than regular boating, yachting, kiting, whatever you want to call that was before. It's like, and we are at the forefront. We are all trying new things, learning new things, learning from others. And that also creates that sense of community, which, it's really hard to find nowadays with all the technology. Like we kind of tend to be more and more distant from people. And this brings us all together and with the same passion. It's amazing. It's a beautiful time to be alive.
It's fantastic. And look, that was interesting when I was talking to Cynthia, she was saying with the Parawing now, when they do downwinders, if someone comes off foil or falls down, if you're just doing a downwinder with a paddle, that's it. They're lost. They're not going to catch you, and you got to keep going. But now they head upwind with the Parawing. They wait for them to get up, and and the foil assist systems have got the same sort of capacity. If someone comes off foil, you can just wait for them to get going again, and you can do things as a group. You can stay together. You've got a lot of control over that, which is fantastic.
That's exactly right. And another amazing thing, coming back to the motorized stuff, it again opens up, let's say, downwinding to a lot bigger, lot wider audience. Downwinding with the paddle, it's extremely hard. Like it's so hard, and I feel like it's only for the chosen few. You gotta live at the right place. Be relatively fit. You gotta have the technique, have the grit, which not all everyone has, and have the mobility, have a lot of different things going on for you to actually get into that. But now with our product or competitive product, all of a sudden, people that would never think about going downwinding, they can, and it's possible. They can do it, which is absolutely amazing.
It's an exciting time. It's been fantastic chatting to you. Thank you for coming on the Foilers podcast, and great to hear about the new product. And I wish you guys really, really well with it, and keen to hear as you continue to evolve. in this fantastic industry we're in.
Thank you very much for the invitation. We're honored to be a part of Foilers, and doing this with you. So again, thank you very much, Pete. Appreciate that.